Joining us now, John Yoo, law professor at UC Berkeley, former Deputy Assistant Attorney General at, of course, the U.S. Department of Justice, and author of a great book, Point of Attack, Preventative War, International Law, and Global Welfare. John, welcome, sir.
Hey, Steve, thanks.
Well, it's always my pleasure. So what's your reaction to the president-elect saying that he's not going to appoint a special prosecutor and he has no interest in prosecuting Hillary, wants to bring the nation together?
First, I think it's a mistake to close down any investigation at this point. Now, I personally think that if Hillary Clinton's going to skate free, she ought to receive a presidential pardon in which the pardon sets out exactly what crime she committed, and she has to accept the pardon, which I think would be tantamount to admitting it. But even if she were to get a pardon like that, the Clinton Foundation and the email scandals should not go uninvestigated, because there's a lot of other people who would be co-conspirators who helped carry this out, and we need to get more of the facts about what happened, particularly with the Clinton Foundation, which has all the external signs of being an elaborate pay-to-play arrangement where foreign governments were giving money to this foundation in order to get access to the Secretary of State.
Absolutely. Now, let me ask you this. Kellyanne Conway said that she believes the message will filter down to the Congress because they could conduct hearings. I hope it doesn't. They're an independent branch of government, but I'm not so sure about their leadership, run by Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell. Having said that, we have another supposedly independent branch in the Justice Department. Do you believe that this announcement in any way, shape, or form will, let me rephrase it, should and will ultimately affect what Attorney General Sessions might do?
Well, if President Trump were actually to order the Attorney General, say it's Sessions, not to bring charges, then Senator Sessions would have to drop them, because ultimately, under the chain of command in our Constitution, the president is the chief law enforcement officer. But it's very rare for a president to actually make an individual case decision on an individual prosecution. Instead, what should normally happen is that the FBI, which I think should be under new leadership too, I think we could talk about that another time, but I think Jim Comey should resign for the good of the country. But the FBI should be allowed to conduct its investigation, and then it should present those facts to the Justice Department. And then Attorney General Sessions or whoever it might be should make a decision on whether to prosecute. Only when we have all those facts and we have that kind of decision by the Attorney General should the president then get involved and make a call up or down about prosecution. And as I said, it looks to me like we need to get a lot more facts. I think some of it is not the kind of thing Congress can get at, but there are a lot of governments who are giving money to the Clinton Foundation. We had those documents where people seem to have jobs at the Clinton Foundation and private consulting groups and in government, and were claiming credit for bringing in speeches and money for the foundation and the Clintons. And then at the same time, these governments were getting access to the Secretary of State.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And I want to follow up, if you don't mind, at least a little bit, in what you said about Comey resigning. You believe that Donald Trump should ask for the resignation of Comey, and exactly why?
Well, I think Mr. Comey has made the wrong decision 3 times. I think when he took over the power of the Justice Department prosecutors to decide whether they were to even continue the investigation of charging on the email scandals back last summer. And then once he closed that, reopening it with a week to go in the election. And then the third decision, then closing it down again with just 2 days before the election. Every decision was wrong. I think it was actually the exact wrong direction to go each time. And he inserted deliberately the FBI into a national election. And that has harmed, I think, the integrity of the FBI and the Justice Department. The best thing he could do, and President Trump could do, is start with a clean slate. Restore the Justice Department, restore the FBI's reputation for neutral administration of law. And unfortunately, I think Mr. Comey has to go, along with, of course, Loretta Lynch.
Yeah, well,
the Attorney General.
Yeah. Let me ask you, John McCain was at a forum the other day, and he was asked about waterboarding. and he basically said, we played this bite yesterday, he said, I don't give a damn what the President of the United States wants. It's illegal, and, let them try. We will not have waterboarding in this country or we lose the moral high ground. It never worked. It only gives false information. Now, I know you could spend an hour debating and disputing every one of those points I just made on behalf of McCain, because you have in the past with me. But do you believe that one of the things the Trump administration should do is to try to bring back those enhanced interrogation techniques that you were so instrumental in putting out there and getting into law in the aftermath of 9/11, which absolutely did keep us safer?
First, I think he is quite wrong, as you said, to suggest that these interrogations didn't lead anywhere. If you look again at the 9/11 Commission report, 75 to 80% of all the information in there, which is everything we knew about Al-Qaeda after 9/11, is produced from those interrogations. So it's just, I think he's just wrong to say that. But second, I think the Trump administration should bring them back, even if it never uses them, because the last thing we should be doing is telegraphing to this kind of enemy who fights by no rules and is trying to sneak people into the country to carry out terrorist attacks. We shouldn't signal or telegraph to them exactly what we're going to do or not do. And so at least to have them in reserve, even if we never use them, would just be prudent.
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. And you believe, I think, as I do, and because we've talked about this too, we've been less safe under this administration because we don't do what we used to do. But also, you make a great point. Telegraphing everything we're going to do, what we're not going to do, when we're going to do it, how many troops we're going to send, where we're going to send them, how long they're going to stay. I mean, I've never seen anything like it.
I agree. That's not how you fight a war, especially against an enemy that itself thrives on information and camouflage and deception. The last thing we should be doing is telling them all of our strategies and tactics. Maybe that might work when we're fighting another country and we want them to reach a peace treaty with us and end a war in the end. We should show restraint. That does not work against terrorist groups. I mean, these are people, these are operatives. They want to die at the end of the war. They want to kill themselves along with as many Americans as they can. So I don't see why Senator McCain or the few people I think that support him in Congress think this is a good strategy to carry it against terrorist groups who feel no restraint when they're carrying out their attacks on us.
Yep. Let me ask you about President Obama. People are urging him. I see a lot of left-wing websites with columns saying that the president has every right to and should appoint any Supreme Court justice he wants, probably the one he already nominated, before he leaves in a recess appointment, and it would last till the end of next year, et cetera. I believe it's unprecedented. Does he have a legal authority to actually do that, and how big a mistake would it be for him to do it?
He could. The president has the power to make recess appointments, they're called. And this power has been abused by President Obama, and he's actually lost at the Supreme Court on his efforts.
Yeah, the NLRB in particular, I believe, yes. Correct? Yeah.
Exactly. With the NLRB case, for example, President Obama did appoint a lot of people to important executive branch offices. He lost at the Supreme Court because he abused that power and went too far. Now, what can happen under the recess appointment clause is the president has the right to fill a vacancy when a recess is ongoing, but that appointment only lasts until the next session of Congress. So even if President Obama were to appoint someone to the Supreme Court under the recess appointment clause, say Merrick Garland, it would only last for 2 years. But I would think if President Obama wants to end his presidency with this kind of legacy, he would just be handing over more Senate seats to the Republicans, because I can't think of anything that would so infuriate the Republican Party and the Republican base and Senate Republicans in the Senate than doing something like this. And with the over 20 seats that Democrats have up in the Senate in the next election in 2020, I would think you could even see something like a filibuster-proof majority in the Republican Senate after something like this. And so that would mean that you would have an easier time even of filling the Supreme Court with this, not just the Scalia seat, which would come open in 2 years, but any other seats that come open.
Right. John, great to talk to you, sir. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday and appreciate your time as always.
You too, Steve, and it's great to be on with you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. John Yoo, ladies and gentlemen. Up next, former NYPD detective Harry Houck about the rash of police attacks. Don't go away.